Roll the credits, silly bloke. Now this is getting confusing. Hey everyone, it's Tony for emodels.co.uk. Welcome to part 14 of the Tamiya 1/12 scale Yamaha YZR-M1 09 build. I've actually just filmed this after doing all the decals and doing the outro for this episode. Very confusing. So, as you can see, decals are on. Yes! What I'll do is, I'm going to film a short clip separately from this, where I'll talk you through how I do decals. This is no way, shape or form, this is exactly how you do things. If you watch 10 videos on how to do decals, you'll see 7 different techniques. But I'll go through that in the clip. So, I'm going to go off and grab my spare model. I've done it that way because I didn't want to mess up these. I wanted to concentrate on these properly because it's a professional build. I'm doing a proper build. I don't often do proper builds. So, that's why I'm filming all this separately. But I'll explain that in the next clip that you see, and then I'll do the time-lapsey stuff for this. Now, there have been a couple of problems with these decals, along the lines of a couple of them went all crinkly and didn't work properly, and these just don't line up anywhere, and the colour shades are slightly off as well. These are trim details for the edges of the blue that were painted on. It's rubbish lighting, I do apologise, but there's little fades and things like that, so that's where these come in to do the fades for you. But with the masking that they give you, that you saw in the last episode, and other various bits and bobs, nothing quite lined up, so I'm happy with how this is now. I've spent the best part of 3 days, over many hours throughout the 3 days doing this kind of thing. So, like I say, I'll get to that properly in a minute, and hopefully I'll remember to not do the time lapse when we get to this. But I keep going off this way because I've got a new camera. As you can probably tell, at least one of you is going to notice that this is a new camera. It's not actually mine. I've borrowed it off a neighbour. I definitely want this camera, I really do. It's fantastic. It's plugged in and there's no battery battery problems whatsoever, because it's all plugged in, it's all wired off to my plugs over there, so it won't run out. It's fantastic, and it does this as well. Watch this, watch this, if I can find the button. Whee! Look at that! Whee! It's fantastic. I want this camera, I really do. I might buy it off him. Anyway, hopefully I'll remember not to time lapse over this bit. When I get there, I'll give you a quick talk through of how I did that at that point. So I'll film how I do decals separately. Go watch, go watch, go that way. Go watch. You're still watching this bit, aren't you? No. Righty doke. So a P40 Kitty Hawk is going to be the demonstration piece. Now, as you can see, it's nice and shiny because it's got a gloss varnish on it. Absolute must. Before you do anything with decals, you must gloss varnish. Simply because we've got 2 factors in play. We've got surface tension, which is basically, if you remember in science, there was that experiment where they get a beaker of water, fill it right to the top with water, obviously it's a beaker of water, get a piece of card, plonk it over the top, or they slide it over the top, don't they? And then they set the whole thing upside down. Zoom you out. No, you are zoomed out. It looks odd. Yeah, they took the whole thing upside down, and then the piece of card stays where it is because it's suctioned on with surface tension. It's basically what holds a bubble together and keeps it as a bubble. So we've got that going on. But equally as important, a couple of you have been in touch with me about this already when I announced I was working on decals soon. We use softeners as well. Now, whether it's this stuff or the Humbrol stuff, essentially what you're using is white vinegar, and trust me, if you smell this stuff you'll realise that it is white vinegar. That's what we used to use in the old days, white vinegar. This stuff is essentially chemically very similar to X20A. So, you're using a bleaching agent or a paint thinner over the top of decals. You must protect your paint with a varnish. If you don't, you start stripping your paint away, as some of you have been in touch and asked about. Well, that's why you're stripping your paint. because you're using paint thinners. So you must protect it with a gloss varnish. Now this was built just after my birthday in May. It's now December. This is how hectic my building schedule is. I can't even complete my own personal builds because I'm constantly filming stuff for YouTube. So I'm going to take this wing here and I'll do a basic decal. Basic decal G. I must stop listening to the Goon Show. I really must. Right, so I'm going to cut the decal from the bit of paper. There we go. Helps over show you, doesn't it? Box standard cheap and nasty decals from a box standard cheap and nasty kit, which shall remain nameless. Plonk the knife safely there. Clamping tweezers and a little dish of tepid water. Now, comfy enough that you can put your finger in and think, oh, that's nice and warm. It's not cold, it's not hot, it's, you know, somewhere in the middle. I put mine face down. Like I say, you'll see, if you watch 10 videos, you'll see 7 different techniques at least. So I put mine face down because there's a tendency, if you watch now and put it face up, a tendency for it to curl up, like so. If you put that face down, I'll show you with another decal. Like I say, I'm not too bothered about these because it's a cheap and nasty kit. Sorry Mum, if you watch this. I know you love me and you bought me a kit and everything like that, and I am happy that I received it, but it is cheap and nasty. Don't tell her. She doesn't watch these, you know. That's why I can get away with it. So I'll trim another one out. Just get rid of that one there because I don't want that floating about my water. Okay, so I'll probably get face down, like so. It'll still crinkle, but it's now more controlled than the huge crinkle that we've got there. He says. Oh, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, old habit. So I'll put my face down. So, do the two at the same time. Now then, where have you gone? I did have a coaster knocking about. I've literally just filmed the intro, and I had the coaster there a minute ago, and the outro. Where's that gone? Oh, there it is. There it is. It's alright. Panic over. I found it. There he is. Right, Bobby Blue Tack and a coaster. Yes, stop giggling, Michael. I can hear you. We'll plonk that on. So we're using bottle number 1, which is the micro set. So this is the first stage of a 2-step process. 2 separate brushes. One with yellow tape, so that I know where it belongs with micro set. That's, shuts up stomach. Another brush for the micro sol. Like I say, vinegar, bleaching agent, and X20A. Essentially, it's not exactly the same, but it is basically a paint thinner. It's chemically very similar. I actually use X20A sometimes on the tougher decals. Anyway, 2 separate brushes, so we're not cross-contaminating with each other. Just going to wet the area with the micro set. As you can see, the decal is sliding away from the paper now. So I've literally dunked it for about 5 seconds and left it off to the side for about 30. And it started moving, and then slide off into place, like so. Onto this, the area we just wetted with the micro set. Remember, this is over a gloss varnish, over the paint protecting it, and then with a bit of kitchen roll, I'm just going to dab. I'm not going to drag, I'm not going to start pulling or anything like that. I'm just going to dab, just to get the air bubbles out. You can probably see a couple of lumps and bumps there. That's because the paint underneath isn't exactly perfect. So, quick dabs. There's no visible air bubbles, otherwise you would see a great big lump right in the middle. Which you can see there, it's nice and smooth, apart from a couple of like I say, dinks and dents where the paintwork's not brilliant. So now that that's kind of dry, let's just give it another quick go. Make sure that everything's out from underneath. Just going to go over it again with the marker set over the decal itself, and just using the weight of the brush, nothing more. Don't start pushing or dragging or anything like that. Just find the panel lines and follow those. Like so. Now, plonk that down, and we can either leave that one decal to dry for, no, don't dip into the water, leave that one decal to dry for about 10 minutes, or as you can see here, move across to the opposite side. Now keep your hands well away from what you've just done. So like I say, this is a softener, and it will pull the decal away if you're not careful. If you touch that now, just make sure it's still in shot. Slide that off. Make sure we're roughly in the same place. Roughly in the same place. Roughly in the same place. Yeah, it's close enough. And again, just dab. Don't start pushing, pulling or anything like that, just dab it. There we go, nice and dry. Go in again with a second coat of Microsol. Give it a quick whiz over. Find the panel lines. And then leave that to do its thing. That's what I was going to tell you. You can probably see a pink tinge there to the brush. That's because I used this over unprotected red paint with this stuff here. First thing it did was it started bleaching the paint away. So that's why you must seal in with a gloss varnish. The other thing I've forgotten to mention so far as well is do not use a hairdryer to speed this process up. Let it do its thing naturally. What will happen is if you use a hairdryer to speed this up, you'll apply heat, which will cause the decal to go like that and wrinkle up something chronic. If you're close enough, you'll actually melt your plastic as well, and all of a sudden your wingtip will go like that and droop over. You don't want a droopy wing at all. Trust me on that. So do not apply heat with a hairdryer. Otherwise I'll come round and I'll shout at you for being silly. So that's as good as dry now. So hopefully, I'm going to use the zoom for the first time. Well, it's the first time in this video anyway. It's I've actually used it quite a few times now on the time-lapsey stuff, I think. Have I? I can't remember. Ooh. So we're going to change brushes. So as you can see, a nice clean one. I can tell by the two tapes because it's bottle number 2. I can't be bothered using a pen to do it. So we're using bottle number 2, which is the Microsol, which is the red bottle. As you can see, I've always put number 1 and 2 on top of the bottles so I can remember which way around it is. Now hopefully we can catch this. So I'm just going to paint over the decal again with the number 2. And hopefully we can see this go like that and shrivel up and what have you. And this one is brilliant for helping your decal set into a panel line. Now I can see a panel line just there. Oops. So don't force this, don't overdo it. I'm just going to tease over that panel line like so. And there's another one just there. So what this is doing now is it's actually slightly melting the decal. And this is definitely why you need a gloss varnish, because this will start stripping your paint. Like I say, it's X20A essentially. It's chemically very similar. It's not quite doing to that decal what it normally does on other decals. It shrivels up and stuff like that and gets all like that. I do know I've caught it with the excuse me, the main body decals on the bike itself. Hopefully you can see now. Just catch the light. It's actually following the contours of the panel lines. Now something like this, do your decals first before you start doing all your weathering, because otherwise you'll do all your weathering, have your panel lines all nicely picked out, then you whack a decal over the top and you'll hide what you've already done. So do this first. Just pick those out a little bit more. Like so. So we'll come back and see that in a minute, because somebody's asking somewhere, what about complex contours? Because that's a nice flat panel. Let's bring in Pauline. As you can see, I've already had a play with a carbon fibre decal off a Formula 1 car. Now I did that quite a while ago, just to see what these decals were like. Not that bad, considering they're from these guys. It wasn't a bad decal. Quite surprising, because normally theirs are rubbish. I nearly said something else then. So we're going to swap back to bottle number 1. We'll put brush number 2 down. Pauline, as you can see, has had quite a few scrapes and bumps and things like that, and she's another test piece. We have, oh, I forgot one of those. We have Dave over here, who gets all kinds of weird and wonderful things done to him. So does this fella. Yeah, a fella called Pauline. Because why not? So, good grief, can you hear the difference in that decal? Sheet. Oh my. So, these are amongst the most tackiest, nastiest, cheap and nasty things you'll ever use. So we're going to get the clamp again, like so. Right, it's not the decal for this car, it is actually off a Ferrari F1 car. I think it was the 09 season, 07 season. Like so. So, oh good, you can feel the difference in that paper already. It's just gone like that and fallen over on itself. So I'm just going to change the angle slightly. Bring it down here, like so. Hopefully my camera stand will take the weight. It has been a bit of a pain so far, this new camera. Right, so, where have you gone? There you are. We're going to follow that one there. Nice big complex curve, like so. This will be interesting. These decals are a few years old now as well. This will be interesting. So this is the boring bit, waiting that 30 seconds for the decal to activate off the sheet. Micro set all over the area we're about to work in, to prepare the area. Yep, there we go, it's moving. Now do try and be patient and leave that to do its thing. So what we're going to do is just slide that on over the top, like so. Use a brush. Whack it down, like so. It's actually behaved itself quite remarkably. Yay! Hey, I said this in another video, I know for a fact I have. I don't need any help making myself look like a fool. So, just squeeze all the excess away, like so. Now, got a sticky up bit just here, that's not wanting to stick down. bit like my hair first thing in the morning. So we're just going to run the micro set bottom number 1 over the top, like so, and hopefully we can follow that curve just there. And deliberately going to leave that bottom edge loose. So we'll get it down as much as we can, but over that wheel arch we'll leave that as it is, like so. There we go. Right, so we'll leave that again for another 10 minutes or so. Let that air dry. Right, so we'll swap the bottle over. We'll set number 1 over there with number 1 brush there, and then we'll get the number 2 bottle of Micro Sol, number 2 brush, and wiggle over the top, like so. And what this will do now, hopefully, lighting right. There we go. A couple of wrinkles. It's basically melting this decal now to help it conform to the shape of what we're working on. So we've got this nice big trim piece here at the top we're trying to conform to, and we've got the wheel arch itself, and then there's a couple of little rivet holes in the decal, the body panel too, that we need to find. Ooh, that's a good wrinkle there, that one. And it's conforming into the panel itself. If I move that light in a little bit, there you go. Loads of wrinkles now because the decal's basically melting and it's shrinking up, pulling back. Lovely. There you go, that's a better demonstration. Temptation now is to think, oh my god, that's gone wrong. You start panicking and stuff like that. Leave it to do its thing, it's fine. It's supposed to do that. We're melting the decal. And what that'll do is, it'll help it conform. Let's see if I've got one here. So you can probably see where that panel line is there at the top. The decal will then sit within that panel line, like we were saying before with the roundels, to conform it, and then you can get your panel washes sorted out and things like that. So what else have we got? It's like this complex curve here, as you'll see in the time lapse in a bit. That took quite a few hours to get sorted out on both sides, just to get it to fit to that shape. Basically what this is doing now. This is where patience comes in. So at this point, as you can see there, it's still wet on the top. We walk away, go make a brew, things like that. There we go. Just in here, a couple of little rivets. So we'll just help that along as well. Just give it a quick nudge. Reselect that. There we go. Right, so I'm going to go for some coffee myself, so we'll come back and have a look at that in about 10 minutes and see how it's doing. One cup of coffee later. Ta-da! There we go. So it's virtually done. I'll probably need another once over just to get it to sit down a little bit more in that bottom corner there. If I zoom in now, zoom that way. You see now we've actually picked out the rivets as well. Nice sharp line just here where the mudguard is. But at the back there, let's see if we can get the lighting sorted out. Probably not. That trim detail there, oh excuse me, that trim detail there, lovely and conformed, all settled in, it's lovely. So that's basically it. Plenty of patience, that's all it is. Plenty of patience, don't panic. Don't panic at all. And if we have a quick look now at the P40, I'll play with the lighting. Just there, you can probably see the panel lines all nicely detailed now, where it's all shrunk up and good down and shrunk up and good down. If we have a look at just softener only, you can make out the panel lines, but it's not quite as sharp as these ones. Probably just see there as well, little flat spots where it's dried with the mic set was dried. So we'll have a quick whip over with the number 2 off camera. No, hang on. I'll carry on doing that off camera anyway, because that's my private build. And we'll now go into doing the bike itself. Like I say, this one here, I've actually worked on over 3 days, just because of how much I've had to put on. Now the difference I've found between these ones for the bike, which are cartograph, and these cheap and nasty things that I've literally just used in front of you right now, these things are a lot thinner. These tend to be a little bit thicker, if anything, purely because the printing process of these is far superior to this. Now if anything, to be honest, just in terms of the speed, I mean, it's not quite exactly the same shape, but you know, this angle is akin to this angle here. This has taken the best part of 3 days to sort out. That literally took 15 minutes. Cheap nasty decals, you know, supposedly superior decals. And whether it is because there's that many colours on there or not, I don't know. But the sheer amount of faffery I've had to do with this compared to that, yeah, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed at all. The only difference I seem to be able to find is the printing quality of this is far superior. That's it. That's the only difference. That's better. There we go. Sorry, I'm eating humbugs again. So just plug it nice and close to that. I'm just going to see that decal has now gone on, apart from this bit down here that still needs working on, but the main curve itself and around that detail there, it's gone on beautifully smooth. Now all we need to do to sort it out is exactly the same, repeat the process of adding some microsol, the number 2 bottle, the red bottle, if you've not drawn a big number 2 on yours like I have done. Just add it across there again, just to smooth it all out and to try and get a bit more detail out of these rivets here. That's basically it. You're just repeating, ooh, blurry, just keep repeating the process over and over again. Try not to use the blue stuff too much. It is actually, how have I put it? I'll tidy it up again. There's one, there's the 2. In this state now, unprotected. I've not varnished it or anything, it's still the bare decal. If we have too much of the blue solution, it's actually a remover as well. So it'll soften, but use too much, it'll remove it. So, there we go. That's a quick and nasty basic tutorial on how I do decals. It's not the gospel on it. Like I say, if you watch 10 videos, you'll see 7 different versions of this. But that's my style of doing it. Hopefully that's helped you. We'll do a time lapse now. And oh, how I've done all that lot there. this one's not quite cooperating properly as it wraps around this really complex curve here. It's not quite sitting on, so I'm just going to gently and patiently work with this and the microsol. It seems to be conforming to that curve there. As you can see there, it's like a really odd shape, but as it wraps back around again, it's not quite sitting on. So it is slowly getting there. It's just one of those really, be patient jobs. Don't rush it. Don't force it. Try and keep that straight as well. So I'll leave that a few more seconds again for the stuff to do its work. Stay. Oh, you uncooperative thing, you. What I've noticed as well on the decal sheet is it actually gives you, I think they've had this problem before where it's not quite sitting on properly. They actually give you, they're not used, but the actual shapes of the logos themselves, just in case you decide to paint that separately. So there is the choice there. Now I'm going to try and stick with that as much as I can. If all else fails and it doesn't quite sit down, because we've not protected that yet with another varnish, we can use this stuff again just to soften it all and lift it back up. So it's not a huge problem. It's disappointing. It's frustrating right here. It is going slowly. So it is one of those things. Stick with it. Be patient with it. I don't know if the light can catch that. There's all kinds of wrinkles going on that curve itself. Oh, there's a good couple there. So that's the decal itself, stretching, shrinking back, stretching, shrinking back, stretching, shrinking back. You can see now underneath. It is actually slowly going to fit that edge. It's very slowly. So as we're going through this now, I'm realising that the decals are actually a slightly different blue to the paint we've used. Now I've had that problem before, regardless of whether you use the tub paints or the spray paints, you do sometimes get different shades. I don't know, I'm not too sure if the camera can pick that up. the decal is actually slightly darker than the paint, and I found that out a minute ago when they give you these fade lines, and hopefully you can make that out. There's like a little blend where the overspray is on the bike, and it's deliberately there, but as you put it across here it's a completely different blue to the paint. So I'm not too sure if that'll show on camera. That blue there is completely different, but it's the same shade as blue as the decals. And it's frustrating, it really is. So I've left the fade off because it does stand out like a sore thumb. If you have the bike as is, it doesn't quite stand out as much, like so. So I think we can get away with it. That decal now has had a couple of hours and there's still a few wrinkles in there. I've just been applying more and more of the softener and the setter as we're going along. They're slowly going away. There's still a few there. It's quite a tricky little curve, that one. That's definitely a perseverance job. very rude of me. I'm eating humbugs without it. I do apologise. No, I don't. Bear with me a second. No, stop it. Okie doke. Right. So, this decal here is being a bit of a bum. I've missed out painting there. It's a bit wrinkly. I'm not too sure if you can tell in this light, but it is still a little bit wrinkly. So, basically what I'm doing is, with the... zoom out a bit, there we go. With the blue one, the number 1, the micro set. Just every 10 minutes or so, just going over with a brush and just smoothing it into place. Now it has taken so far about 3 hours to get to this stage where it's actually set down. Whoops, show you, that'll help. So just very gently, there's hardly any pressure on that brush at all. So we're just using the weight of the brush to move the fluid around. Now it's not quite lined up at the back there, but that's not too bad because we've got another decal, I call it a sticker again then. Let's go over the top, but if you can see from that side, there's hardly any wrinkles at all. I had the exact same problem this side. So, like I say, that's about 3 hours worth of work so far. Like I say, every 10 minutes or so I'm just rubbing over with the micro set just to smooth it in. Now, for the past hour, I've been doing the same thing with this. You can see there we've got that little vent. We're slowly now getting the decal to fit into there. And same again with this little streak here. So it's just literally using the weight of the brush just to push into that corner. Now the decal is slightly tearing on that corner, but I'm not too bothered. But just here, we're using the softening properties just to conform to that bit. So what you'll see is it will, wrinkle and then pull back, wrinkle and pull back. So it'll keep moving, but eventually it will go. And because I've wet it again with the softening solution with the set, you can probably see there now it's going all wrinkly again. Don't worry, that's fine. It's no problem, it's supposed to do that. So don't start flapping and panicking. There you go. You see now that as I'm working with this, it's actually taking the shape again of that little vent there. Like I say, I'm not pushing down, I'm not applying loads of pressure. It's literally just the weight of the brush. So again, we'll leave that for about 10 minutes, and then what we'll do now, I'm fairly happy with where that is and how it's taking shape. But I've got a wrinkle there as well that I need to work up. It's not quite bedding down, so we'll leave that one for about 10 minutes again, just to air dry. You can see there's a sheen whilst it's still wet. It does dry flatter. It's still a gloss because it's a gloss decal. You can see there it's still a bit wet, so it's a bit shinier on this side. So we'll let that go off, like I say, about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back with micro sol. Oh, hang on. I've got my tops mixed up. I've got them in fun. So we'll pop that off to the left hand side, so we know what's what and where. Put that lid back on before I spill it. Stop giggling, Mike. Yes. I know you're giggling, I can hear you from here. Put that on. There. So this is the number 2 solution now. And pop that off to one side. Because let's bring the nose back in. 3D view. Let's drop you down again. I think I mentioned it in the engine build section of the videos. Got one of these third hand things, they're brilliant. So I'm actually quite happy with that. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. And you can probably see right at the back, I'll zoom in a bit, I love this new camera. No, wrong way. Zoop. That's brilliant. I like that. I'm gonna have to get one of these. I've told you I've borrowed this off somebody. Very kindly said, "Oh, you can borrow my camera if you want. I'm not using it for a while." It's fantastic. So it overlaps a little bit. There's quite a few decals do this as well, so I'm just going to use the knife. Barely any pressure. Let the blade do the work. Just going to trim that back, like so. So I can show you that from the wrong side. There he is. Get the angle right. There we go. So barely any pressure. Again, just let the blade do the work. I'm quite hard to do that with you sat in my knee and not block the light at the same time. I'm doing this left-handed. There we go. Job's a good one, I think. Yeah. Job's a good one. Put that nice and safe, and then using some of the number 2 fluid, let's get a slightly better angle. Just going to seal that back down again. Some of the red stuff, just drop it over the top, just to seal the end. And then while we're here, let's pull back out again. I do like that. Not too sure how the sound works at the moment. I'll soon find out when I start editing. I know so far there's going to be loads of time lapse just because of how boring this part is. So we're just going to do one more whip around on the nose. I'm pretty much happy with where this is now. There we go, done. So I can leave that off to one side to dry. For a quick faff there. Yep, done. Happy, 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 happy. Happy, 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 happy. Arsenal! So just have a quick look at this now. I wouldn't recommend you touch your decal whilst it's still got that blue stuff on, because there is a risk that you'll stick to your finger. But I'm fairly happy with how dry that is as well, so I'm just going to whip over with some number 2. The microsol. One thing I'm not quite used to with this camera is just off to the top here, it's got like one of those flappy outdoors, but just off to the top, I can't actually stop pointing at the thing behind the screen. Right at the top left hand corner of the body itself there's a little flashy red light. Now on my other camera, this thing that I've been using for years and years and years, there's a little flashy red light here when the battery's running out. So because I've got used to the little flashy red battery here, indicator thing here, so I can show you. Yes, I know there's no memory card. It's not going to do it without the memory card in, is it? Plug a memory card in. So that's what I normally look at when I'm filming. So when I say there's a little flashy battery up here somewhere, that's what I'm pointing at. That one there. Just there. That's quite odd. That was freaking me out. That's quite trippy. So yeah, when I'm pointing there saying there's a little flashy thing up here, that's the battery indicator that I'm looking at. That's quite cool and trippy. Like I say, that thing's out on its last legs now, so it's time for a new one. So in fact, while I'm here, I'm going to see if I can splice a clip in. There we go. So that's what I'm actually looking at the moment. It's that little flashy red battery thing, but it's not a flashy red battery. That's showing me that this is open, and it's quite odd. Basically, that's the setup onto that camera stand there, so when you hear clinking and clanking, it's me doing all this kind of thing with a brush, because I'm literally, as you can see, I'm literally sat right on top of it. And that's where I'm kind of working from. So me working personally like that, I'm actually working, hopefully you can see this, I'm actually working like this, right over the top, which is why you can often hear. There you go, it's educational, wasn't it? Let's turn that off. So, was educational. I do apologise for scaring you with the ugly face and all that kind of stuff. No, I don't. I'm a pretty boy, I am. I know that because my mum keeps telling me, stop laughing. So I'm just going to tease that corner again a little bit with the number 2 solution. I cover the entire decal. And then sit back for 10 minutes whilst it's doing its thing again. Oh, I've got a square bum now, so don't touch wet decal stuff. Here we go. That's been roughly, what, let me think, I've done this over 3 days now. My bum's gone square and my brain's gone numb and things like that, but there we go, decals are virtually done. I've still got 1 or 2 that I need to take care of, but I'll do that off camera, purely because I've filmed about, let me think, about 9 hours worth over 3 days. I've had to film. This one here, I've been working on and off. It's Saturday now. This one has taken most of the day. I started at 9 o'clock. It's now, what are we on? It's now 7 o'clock in the evening, and that's had half a gallon of this stuff to take care of the curve on the back. Same as this one did. That took about 4 hours to sort out as well. And you can probably hear there's still a couple of little rough bits, but not too bothered. It's mostly on it. It's 99% done. So it's just a tiny little crinkle here and there, but that can compared to how it was first thing this morning when I put it on, is a lot better than it was. Perfect. I like that. I do like that. So, I've got a couple that I need to take care of off camera. Like I say, there's these two here. I can't quite figure out where they went. I can't find it in the instructions. Terry, that's the heat shield that you were talking about that they gave us, and it's carbon fibre. So I can only go off what the kit tells me to do. I'm no expert at this kind of thing, so I'm just sticking with what the kit tells me. Join me in the next part when we will take care of these ones on the windshield, which is a slightly different technique, but I'll talk you through that when we get there. Like I say, join me in the next part. We'll talk through the windshield. We'll do all the snagging bits, like detail painting, the grips and the brake levers and things like that, and nipping round doing panel washes on these kind of things here where we've got the access panels. So we'll do a quick panel washing there and things like that, and we'll call this one done, hopefully, in the next part, fingers crossed. So join me for that. In the meantime, pop along to my mates at eModels. I honestly don't know if I can get this one to them before Christmas. I honestly don't know. So if it is after Christmas, I hope you've had a good one, because I didn't cover that in the one that goes before this, which has actually just been sent to them this morning. It gets all confusing, this. So if I've missed it, I hope it's a good one. If I am in time, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Don't do too much and things like that, because I'm working over Christmas in the NHS. I would prefer not to see you at my place or any other place. Be safe, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. You still watching? Go home. You're still watching, aren't you? Arsenal! Go, go, go. Do things.